Hi everyone. I'll be doing this video today on mind control and media. And yes, they're two different things, but um, I think they go hand in hand, and also media won't take too long. And I guess I'll just go over that first. Um, and this is pretty interesting. So, media is just the plural form of medium. So medium would be the singular form of media. And so that's pretty interesting right there. It's not medias or anything like that. Media is actually the plural of medium. And the definition of medium is the intervening substance through which impressions are conveyed to the senses. And so that's pretty interesting. And so let me read that again. Now remember, media is just a plural form of medium. And the definition of medium is the intervening substance through which impressions are conveyed to the senses. Now, so the mainstream media, whether that be, newspaper, magazines, or television, is just many forms of medium. And what is that medium? What is that intervening substance? Well, it could be, as I said, television, newspaper. That's the intervening substance. But it's a medium to something. That's where you're getting your information. That's your medium to if you're not, if you're not reading the Bible, if you're not praying, if you're not seeking the Lord or seeking the truth for your own self, for your own research, through your own scientific methods or what have you. This, and you're listening to the media of the mainstream. You're listening to what people say on CNN or Fox or whatever it may be. That's going to be your medium to wisdom or information. And if your media, if your medium to information and wisdom is lies, then you're going to have a very warped view of reality. And the information that you get is going to be false, and you're going to be accepting that, and then you're going to be under mind control. But we'll get into that later. Now, I find this one very interesting also, entertainment. But for some food for thought, Leonard Ravenhill said this. He said, entertainment is the devil's substitute for joy. And he goes on to say, the more joy you have in the Lord, the less entertainment you need. So it's a very, very interesting quote. But the first part of that is, entertainment is the devil's substitute for joy. And that's really interesting. That's very, very interesting, I thought. But looking at the word entertainment and breaking it up, it's actually very interesting. We know you can look up the definitions of words to find out what they mean, but you could honestly also look at the word itself and break it apart and see what it means. So for the word entertainment, we could look at it as three words: enter being the first, tain being the second, and of course ment being the third. And enter would mean come into, and then tain sounds like obtain or to get. So tain means possess, get, or hold something. And then ment just means a state or a state of something. And so if you read that all out, entertainment basically means come into, possess, and then keep in a state of possession. Entertainment. So take heed what you're entertaining yourself with, I suppose. So that covers media and entertainment, just the words. You see, if you break words apart, it's very interesting. Another one is government. Well, it's just two words, govern and ment. But govern means to control. That's what govern means. And then ment, we already know, a state or state of. So government means to control the state of something. If a government is trying to control your mind, they're trying to control the state of your mind. And so that's what happens when you break apart government. So some words you don't even need to know the definition. You just have to know the root word and put the whole word together, and there's your definition. So I find that really interesting. Moving on to mind control, though. I think I've covered media pretty well, just the definitions, and you could look into that and come to your own conclusions there. But mind control, this one is very, very important. We have to know our enemy and know what he's trying to do to control us, and what he's trying to do to manipulate things. You can't learn about the enemy by blindly sitting in his lair and thinking he's going to teach you. Okay, that's not how it works. So, mind control, the second part of this video. There's 3 kinds of mind control. All kinds of mind control fall under these 3 categories. Some kinds of mind control, of course, fall under 2, but they all fall under 1 or more of the 3 categories that we have here. And the categories are conscious, subconscious, and biological. Attacking the very makeup of our being, because a human is 3 parts. Mental, which is attacked by conscious mind control. Spiritual, which is attacked by subconscious mind control. And physical, or biological, which is, yes, we're physical, it's the same thing. A person is mental, they have mentally awareness, they have spiritual awareness, they have physical awareness. People are mental, physical, and spiritual beings. And then there's conscious, subconscious, and biological mind control for all 3, for our very makeup. So we can be controlled by all directions, basically. So let's go over these examples. Let's go over these types of mind control. Let's go over all of them. And I have examples for these types of mind control to help you understand a little bit better of how these types of mind control can be used against you, or maybe against your neighbor, against anyone in general. Okay. Now, the first one is conscious mind control, or attacking our mental health, well-being. Conscious mind control involves things like information, indoctrination, ideological or other kinds of education or re-education, as the wonderful folks at FEMA say, that they will bring in people to re-educate, or otherwise, indoctrinate them, to re-educate them. So education, indoctrination, information is what conscious mind control deals with. Things like schools, newspaper, television, the things that involve information. That is what conscious mind control deals with: information, and telling you things that are true or false. But if you accept these things, then it's interesting, because your mind works like a computer. It's a bit like a supercomputer. And if you accept things mentally, if you accept consciously information that's false, your brain is going to act on it as if it's true. If you accept information, your brain will act on things whether they be true or false. So it's like a hack, basically. Once you let these lies seek in through your consciousness, they go into your subconscious, your spirit, and then they affect you completely. So it's like a hack. Some interesting quotes. One is, "He who controls the information controls the world." And we know the elites harbor lots of secrets, and they hide it from the public. They make sure they don't know, and they try to keep us in the dark, so to speak. Another quote by a song written by John Mayer says this. It's pretty funny, because it's very, very true. It says, "And when you trust your television, what you get is what you've got. because when they own the information, they can bend it all they want. Isn't that amazing? So when you trust your television, what you get is what you got, because it's what they give you. Because when they own the information, they can bend it all they want. They can tell you any lie they want and bend it however they wish. And what you get is what you got. So that pretty well goes over conscious mind control. I guess I'll go on to the second one out of the three, which is subconscious mind control. Now this would involve things obviously like hypnosis, stimulus response, even pain, although pain would be also biological. It's pain, it's your subconscious teaching you things, reward, benefit, things like that. Subconscious, things that your inner self reacts to. It involves little or no conscious decision at all, and that's why it's subconscious. A great example of subconscious mind control is the dog bell experiment. So it was an experiment done by scientists, and what they did is they had a dog in a room, just in a room, and there was a bell in the room also, and they would leave the dog in there, and what they would do is when they would come to bring food in, they would ring the bell. So before they would come in, they would ring the bell, and then they would come in to bring the dog food, feed him, give the dog food. And so after a while, they kept doing this. They would ring the bell, give him food. Next day, ring the bell, give him food. And so after that, they stopped. They didn't plan to bring in food, but they rang the bell anyway. They rang the bell, and what they found is they didn't bring any food in, but they rang the bell. And right after they rang the bell, the dog started to salivate. Right? He expected food. Even though he didn't get any food, he correlated the bell sound with receiving food. And that's subconscious mind control. It's a good example of subconscious mind control. Correlation, stimulus response is what that is. And so I think that pretty well, things like hypnosis, but I think that pretty well covers subconscious mind control. The third kind of mind control, the third and final one, is biological, or physical, if you will. The biological, now these are things, a very easy example of biological mind control is brain surgery. If you take a piece of a part of a person's brain out, they're not going to know, they're going to be changed. They're not going to think the same. So that would be biological mind control. Brain surgery would be one. Electroshock therapy, as some people call it. I don't call it electroshock therapy. It's electroshock mind control. It's what it actually is. But electroshock therapy, as some people call it, it's really mind control. Biological mind control. Drugs would be a biological form of mind control. Computer chips or RFID chips that send electrical impulses into your body. Nanotechnology, these are biological things implanted into your body. Biological mind control, psychotropic drugs that you put into your body, biological mind control. And even other drugs like caffeine, MSG, and even large amounts of sugar are mind control. That actually would be considered mind control because it's biological and it affects your thinking abilities, it affects your reasoning, and it controls your brain or your mind. So that is the three different kinds of mind control, and that's going to help you to know your enemy and how he may be trying to manipulate things to control you and to control your mind. Now, I think this video is going to be very beneficial, but there is one more thing I want to talk about. I want to bring up an example, and maybe you could help me figure out what type or what types of mind control is this. And what I want to talk about is actually a big topic. I'll shorten it up. I'm going to make it a 20-minute video, really easy to watch. You could even rewatch it, and you'll still have 20 more minutes until the top of the hour. Okay. Um, and the topic I want to touch on is desensitization. Okay, so desensitizement or desensitization, meaning it's numbing down your senses. Um, and the theory or the science behind this would be the more you say something, the less important it becomes. Okay, now an example for that would be, how often do you hear people say 2 plus 2 is 4? You don't even have to know math to know 2 plus 2 is 4 because people say it so much. So much so that when you hear someone say, what's 2 plus 2, you don't even answer. Because you just think they're playing stupid. Everyone knows it. You're desensitized to the fact that 2 plus 2 is 4. When someone says it, you're almost bothered by it because you hear it so much throughout your life that it just irritates you. You don't want to hear 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 3? Now that's different because not many people say that. You're not desensitized to that. So desensitization, the more you say something, the less important it becomes. Now we see this in movies, television, newspaper, magazines, books, and politics. Well, we see it all over. Desensitization, the more you say something, less important it becomes. Now I'm going to use movies as an example because I think that's a really easy example for people to follow along with. You see movies about demonic possession all the time, even movies with witches and warlocks and curses. And it's always in the movies, and people go home and they say, wow, that was scary. Could you imagine if that was real? Because they don't really see demonic possession. They don't see demons all the time. They probably don't see demons ever if they're not going to believe in it. And they just see it in the movies. They don't see it at home. Just in the movies, they say. It's just in the movies. Could you imagine if that was real? Why, that'd be scary if it was real. Meanwhile, it is real. Demonic possession is real. Witches, curses, and things like that, they are real. But because people show it all the time in movies, and people don't see that in real life, they think, oh, that's just in the movies. They're desensitized to the fact that not only could this be real, but in fact, as many people know watching this video, it is real. Another example, like the Bourne movies, Jason Bourne, I think it is. There's many movies, and he's under mind control, and there's also many other mind control movies, and people think it's just a fictional movie. Well, these movies are fictional in that maybe they're a reenactment, but they're just actors. This isn't actually happening. It could be a reenactment, but it is just actors at this point. But they watch these mind control movies like that, and they say, "Wow, this is crazy. Could you imagine if it was real?" Meanwhile, the CIA is doing the exact same thing, and they're just pushing out these movies to desensitize the fact that it could be real. They're making it such a crazy story about it that people are like, "Well, that can't be real." Just in the movies. People say, just in the movies. And they're desensitized. The Matrix is another good example. The movie called The Matrix. Now, we might not be plugged into computers, but much of that movie is actually true. We might not be plugged into computers, but we are actually living in a society that we think exists because we're told it exists, and we grow up believing it exists and having faith and basically ignorance in a system that we think exists, but it actually doesn't exist. It's very different from what we were taught as children. People say, don't see it at home. I don't see that at home. Oh, it can't be real. It's just in the movies, they say. Just in the movies. And that's classic, just desensitization. All these things you see in the movies, it just happens over and over again, and even in television and in books and newspapers too. And these people see it so much that they're just completely desensitized and numbed by the fact that it could be true. They're living in a fake reality. And so this desensitization, this would fall under, can you guess which categories this would fall under? It would fall under mental and spiritual. It wouldn't fall under biological, because it doesn't involve anything physical or anything being put into your body. You're not taking drugs, you're not taking a shot, you're not getting brain surgery or taking an RFID chip or eating a bunch of caffeine. No, it's just it's stuff told to you and in depictions and so on. It would fall under mental. You're mentally receiving information and you're subconsciously either believing or not believing this exists. You know, it's desensitization, and that's another form of mind control. So that goes over the three forms of mind control: conscious, subconscious, and biological, to attack our mental, our spiritual, and our physical health. So it should help you to know your enemy and maybe prod some people to do their own research. Well, I thank you everyone for listening, and God bless. And stay seeking out there. Peace.